What's going on, guys? Welcome back to another video. Now, in the background of me here, I've been working on prepping the 3000 a little bit here and there for the Freedom Factory. My checklist of things included making some cooling shrouding for the radiator to direct airflow through the rad and get rid of the air pocket in the bumper. I need to put a new alternator in the car that I still need to get, and I redid a bunch of stuff with my handbrake down there, so that should be fresh and ready to go once I bleed it. But I'm gonna start working on the new CTS-V, Frank, the CTS-V. I got my first modification in today, and I'll show it to you guys here. It is from RevShift, and it is the polyurethane transmission mount block. So I have one of these in the black V. I've had it for about the better part of a decade now, and it's been great. What it does is it fills the gap in the factory transmission mount. It keeps the transmission mount sitting at like basically the height that it should be from the factory, and doesn't allow it to collapse on itself, because when they get old, they collapse, and it gives you all kinds of gear shifting issues. So one of the issues that I was aware of when I bought the car was that the transmission had some weird shifting things going on. One of which was when you shift it into reverse, it wouldn't always engage and it would just grind. So it's like it wasn't fully engaged into reverse. And then I was teaching Morgan how to drive stick the other night, and the car wouldn't always go into first gear. Once you kind of like start letting the clutch out, it just kind of, the shifter just kind of popped out and like recentered itself. So this was kind of like symptoms of a collapsed transmission mount on the first gen V1s. So what I did is I got under the car, I took a look, sure enough, collapsed. I mean, 236,000 miles on the thing. I expected nothing less. So before I pull the car apart completely, I want to try and rule out these T56 issues that the transmission may have. That way I know that, like, you know, everything's good before I take it apart. So I'm going to put this transmission mount in, take the car for a ride, try and put it in reverse right here in the driveway, and see if that will fix my issue. And if it does, I know that I have a good transmission. I'm going to throw some fresh fluid in the thing and let it rip. So I just cleaned up the driveway. I moved the car up into the driveway, so we're gonna jack it up, get it on some stands, and I'll check back in with you guys when I'm all set up and I'm getting ready to get this thing installed. It seems like a really easy installation, but it's a little messy with all the grease, and yeah, a little convincing via hammer to get this thing in. So I'll check back with you guys in a minute once I get everything here set up. Looking under here, there's our drive shaft, there's our transmission, there's our transmission mount, and you can see how right here there should be a gap, and there's not. So what I'm going to do is get a scissor jack right there, put it on the end of the tail shaft of the transmission, jack it up as high as I can, and then finesse this mount in with some grease and a hammer. Scissor jack has it lifted up. As you can see now, there's the proper gap there, and that is what this is gonna fill. So let's see if I can hold this camera here. So basically this will slide in around the stud here, so it'll go in like that. Now I'm gonna cover this thing in grease and kind of pop one side in and then pop the other side in, and just hit it from side to side with the hammer to get it all the way in place, and we'll get this thing back on the ground. All right, so here we are in the car, and already, let's see, seems like going into first and going into reverse might feel better. I'm nervous. All right, let's try to do the end of the driveway here. And back up. See if it stays in reverse. Nope, doesn't stay in. So it looks like we're beat. So if any of you guys know about T56s and reverse pops out on its own, what is it? Is it a shifter issue, or is it like a synchro issue, a fork issue? Oh, that time it did not like it. Yeah, like if I apply pressure, it'll stay in. guys, T56 gurus out there, know what I would need to do to fix this, drop a comment below, let me know, because obviously I'm going to fix it when the transmission's out. If it's a fork issue, if it's a synchro issue for reverse and whatnot, I have no problem pulling the tail shaft off of the transmission and kind of digging into it. There's a lot of YouTube videos out there, so there's some things I can reference, and there's some how-tos on the F-body forums and things like that. But like I said, I was going to do this again, and I guess the first mod is done to Frank the CTS-V drift car. All right, so with that being known, Frank is one day closer to getting torn down to start the real drift car build here. Morgan, we're gonna go out one more time this weekend to keep trying to teach her how to drive stick. She's getting the hang of it pretty well, so we're gonna do another round this weekend. Pull this back seat out. There's like amp wiring, and I have no idea where it wires to. I wonder if it's like some kind of high pass filter that a previous owner at some point had in here, but I have no idea. Oh, like an 18. Nice. I guess I was included with the sale. Jump to the next part of this, and it's the gutting of the interior. So I'm starting on the back half of the car. So again, I can keep it a runner for just a couple more days. I got all the interior panels out of the trunk. I got the back seats out here. So here we have the bare trunk and just, you know, like the factory amplifier, I believe that is. We have the weird wiring around here that just zip tied around. It looks like it pulls from this subwoofer feed to go to like a high pass filter that goes in, that went into an amplifier that went into another subwoofer that used to be back here. So we have the positive wire here that I saw that in the engine bay. We have this high quality ground right here, and this is just the high pass filter job right here. And so I'm gonna get all this ripped out, disconnected, and then probably yank this out from the engine bay side just to get it out of the way. And next I'm gonna take the seat belts out. I'm hoping I have a star bit that big. I should, but that's just a bolt there and there. So just getting this all gutted out and taken apart, because all this stuff is coming out, every little bit of it. I haven't decided if I'm going to keep a carpet in the car yet. I might in the front half, but that all depends on a lot of things basically. But the whole thing has to come out, center console, because I need to get the shifter disconnected from when I pull the motor and trans, because my whole thought process is that the interior is going to come out first. That way I can disconnect the shifter, and then once the shifter is disconnected, the car is going to go in the garage over there, and I am going to get it up in the air, pull the exhaust, disconnect the drive shaft and the steering shaft, and then the car will be ready to have the motor pulled. I think what I'm going to try doing is I'm going to be modifying the rad support to be removable on this car. Vorschlag is building a road race CTS-V, and it's going to be something along the lines of what they're doing. So I'm going to cut my rad support, pull everything off around the motor, and I'm thinking about potentially dropping the whole front subframe with the motor and trans attached and rolling that out from the car, keeping that all together for now. And then we're going to start doing the engine bay, the motor refresh, trans refresh, and all that. So we got a lot of work to do. I'm going to keep pulling this stuff apart and see what stopping point I get to today, and I don't know, we'll let you guys know. These door panels are all coming off, and we're going to get clean the crap out of them, and they're going to go on my black V because I have gray door panels in that. I'm going to be gutting these doors and taking the windows out once you know, it has its home inside. So as far as wiring goes, we have a lot of factory wiring here, because there are a few centers right here. So I haven't decided yet what I'm going to do on the car as far as, you know, the factory wiring goes, because this has stuff like, you know, the ignition relay, the rear defogger, sunroof. So initially I was going to buy a base model CTS, rip everything out of it, and that was going to be my starting point for the build. And basically from there just have a gutted car, wire up just the necessities like lights and things like that. But in the situation that I have a running V, I'm kind of like flirting between keeping it all like the factory wiring there and just basically keeping it a runner and you know, keeping it as is, or gutting it all out. Now, one of the big things though is that I want to keep AC in the car. Now that is all going to be contingent on the fact that if I can get it caged and keep air conditioning in the car. So that's something we're going to have to look into a little further down the line. Basically kind of leave this how it sits right now, because I don't want to dive into any of the wiring stuff until I have the entire interior stripped. So I think the next step is going to be removing the center console and getting all up in there, getting that shifter off. But again, I don't want to get too deep because I still want to give Morgan one more chance to drive this thing. So tomorrow, hopefully, we can do that. And then we got to move some stuff out of the garage on that side to make room for this thing to bring it in. I'm gonna wrap this video up here, guys. It's been a hot day. We got that trans mount insert from RevShift installed. Didn't fix the transmission issue, but that's something, you know, we'll dig into once the motor and trans are out of the car. It could still just be a sloppy shifter issue, but all that stuff is going to get redone no matter what. So when it's out, I'll check the transmission. And yeah, just going to keep gutting this thing and tearing it apart, and stay tuned for the next one. I got to get the 3000 all buttoned up for the Freedom Factory, so that might be the next video if I can get my hands on an alternator this week. And yeah, thanks for watching, guys. As always, like the video, subscribe to the channel, drop a comment, hit the bell. You guys know the deal. I'll see you in the next one.